Let's begin Module 4, and the focus of Module 4 is drug abuse and addiction. And you may be wondering, why is this topic in a class for people that get arrested for driving under the influence? Am I trying to diagnose you or suggest that you have a substance abuse problem or that you're an alcoholic or a drug addict? And the answer to that is emphatically no. I'm not trying to do that. But what I think makes sense and something that is very important and worthwhile doing is taking a look at the DUI arrest as a potential warning sign. So in other words, getting arrested for driving under the influence is very, very serious. And when a DUI arrest occurs, it's an opportunity, I think, to take a look at the role that drugs and alcohol might be playing in our life beyond driving under the influence. And this class actually will give you the opportunity to examine this warning sign. So that's how I'd like to approach it, that getting a DUI arrest is significant enough and problematic enough that it's worthwhile to stop and look beyond just the DUI arrest and consider the role that drugs and alcohol might be playing in your life, and ask the question, was this really an isolated event? Was it something that's very unusual? I usually don't put myself in the situation where I'm going to be driving and operating under the influence. That's not the pattern of the way I use alcohol, for example. So there are a lot of terms and phrases that are used to describe different ways of using alcohol, and it's not so much important the terms we use, but it's the recognition that a drug use pattern is actually related to the potential outcomes that we experience in our life as a result of that use. And I think there are four aspects that we can describe that are consistent or make up this pattern. And those four characteristics of use range from non-use, responsible use. That would be one pattern of drug and alcohol use. Second would be problem use, and what does that mean? Third would be abuse, and how can we characterize alcohol or drug abuse? And then the fourth would be dependence on drugs and alcohol. So non-use, responsible use, one of the aspects of this pattern is very obvious and straightforward, and that is individuals who make the choice not to use drugs and alcohol in their life. That could just be a personal decision that someone makes, or it could be someone who has actually moved through this continuum and experienced drug and alcohol dependence and realize now it's in their best interest to stop using drugs and alcohol. Responsible use, I think we can characterize as safe levels of use, and to further try and make some sense out of that, I think experiencing no harmful consequences from legal use and medical use of alcohol and drugs is a good way to characterize responsible use. Let's take a look at problem use, and what are some characteristics of problem use? Well, now people or this individual is starting to experience some negative experiences or consequences from their use of alcohol or drugs. And those negative consequences can occur at work or school and in relationships. In terms of abuse, experiencing ongoing problems in just about all aspects of life now starts to occur. So in the previous description, there may have been some problems occurring in one aspect of an individual's life. When we get into this abusive use of drugs, we can actually, people can actually start to experience significant problems in just about every aspect of their life. So now we're not just having a problem at home, we're having a problem at home, a problem at work, a problem with friends. Another important characteristic of this pattern of abuse is, in spite of these negative things happening, an individual continues to use alcohol or drugs in the exact same manner that was causing these problems to take place in their life. But what they do is they fail to make the recognition or the connection between their use of drugs and the things that are taking place in their life. They come up with rationalizations. They may deny that the things that they're experiencing are relating to their alcohol or drug use. They make excuses. So they build up mechanisms that enable them to continue to use alcohol and drugs. Obviously, if someone is using drugs in this manner, they're not going to be able to carry out their responsibilities in life very effectively. And another aspect of abuse that we often see is people exhibit dangerous behaviors. Driving under the influence obviously is a dangerous behavior. If someone is routinely driving under the influence and they haven't been caught for driving under the influence, I think that would be an example of abuse, because what they're doing is they're putting themselves in a situation where they could have a very dangerous negative outcome. And then the fourth component of this continuum is dependence on alcohol or drugs. And key characteristic of this stage of a drug use pattern or alcohol use pattern is life focuses on obtaining and using the drug. In other words, use of the drug becomes literally the focus of life. So things like family take a back seat, job responsibilities may not be as important. The most important thing is making sure that the individual has access to their drug of choice or other drugs if their drug of choice is not available. And they engage in drug seeking and trying to make sure that they have access to their drugs. Maybe they change their friend relationship and only start to interact with people who use drugs in a similar manner that they use. And then at some point in time in this stage of dependence, it's not uncommon that individuals make attempts to quit. They start to realize that drug and alcohol abuse is having a negative impact on their life, and they find it extremely difficult to quit. And what they experience is what's often referred to as going on the wagon, or proving to myself that I don't have to drink or I don't have to use drugs. I think the interesting thing about that is an individual who is not having problems with drugs or alcohol does not have to prove to themselves that they're not having a problem. Going on the wagon and saying, you know, I can drink for 2 weeks, or I cannot drink for 2 weeks and be okay, but after that 2-week period, you know, the pattern comes back. Tolerance also is usually an aspect of dependence. You need more and more of the drug to feel like you're functioning normally.